Hello and welcome to No Sevens Dice Club. I got a little bit of an echo in the craps room. Decided to try out my new lighting system that I bought. It was expensive, but it was cheaply made, so it's kind of aggravating. But what's really cool is I can change the colors and everything else on this, and hopefully without knocking it over. But so I can change like the colors. I can make it brighter, I can make it dimmer. So all sorts of cool stuff, you know, natural lighting, non-natural lighting, you know, so soft white, yellow light. But anyway, so let's get on to it. Last week was a complete disaster for college football and for No Sevens. I went 1-4. The Baylor game, if you guys saw that Baylor game, God, I don't know if it was the full moon or what, but I mean, how in the world, I could have won that game so many times if a field goal would have just went in. And it did not go in. It went into like double overtime and, you know, scored that touchdown. And that was it for No Sevens. I lost that one. And the Bama game, man, that was a really good game. Something was telling me to take Texas, and I should have just listened to my instincts and went with Texas. But Texas A&M goes down, and I mean, I don't like to talk bad about other programs. Yeah, right. Who am I kidding? I do like to talk bad about other programs. Jimbo Fisher, he's a salesman, and just to get on a little bit of a rant, he left Florida State decimated, and he had to leave, and he got the opportunity to leave at the right time. Because he was going to be fired at Florida State, and he left, took a king's ransom at Texas A&M, you know, who needed some kind of hope, some kind of desperation. They threw that life ring out, and at the time it was Scott Woodward, the athletic director, who's now LSU's athletic director, threw him that lifeline, put him out there, and they were actually getting ready to hire him over Brian Kelly for LSU this year. There was a lot of money, and I think he wanted somewhere, from what I understand, the rumor mill was about $150 million for like an 8-year deal, not a 10-year, 8-year deal, something insanely. Not even Nick Saban gets that. I mean, it was getting into the stratosphere of insanity, and I'm glad the deal just fell through, you know. And we got Brian Kelly over at LSU. Texas A&M, hopefully Jimbo Fisher can do something for you. You know, he seems to pull the right strings and pull the wool right over the people to get that another major extension. So we shall see. He got the #1 signing class. So let's see how Texas A&M does in the future. And that's my little 2-minute rant on that. Notre Dame. Man, you know, it's starting to look like the head coach over there. I can't think of his name right now. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm exhausted. I can't think of his name right now to save my life. So if you guys just don't kill me in the comments, because I can't think of the Notre Dame's head coach. Anyway, he's 0-3. The first time ever a head coach for Notre Dame is 0-3, starting their coaching career since ever. You know, nobody's has ever gone 0-3 in their first 3 starts, because you remember he lost a bowl game last year. He lost the first 2 games. He lost to Marshall, and I wasn't even watching this game. I thought Notre Dame was going to get run away with this, and then my friend Moneybags texted me in the middle of the game, goes, "Man, you got to turn on the Marshall game." I said, "Why? What's going on with Marshall?" He's like, "Turn it on." So I turned it on. I couldn't believe it. I mean, they were just dominating Notre Dame in all 3 factors. And now that the Notre Dame's quarterback is hurt, it looks like they're going to go with their second string quarterback, probably for the whole entire season. I think their first string quarterback's out for the season, is the rumor I'm getting right now from the people in Notre Dame. But anyway, so, you know, and Notre Dame fans want to make fun of Brian Kelly and everything else. Well, Notre Dame fans, you guys have not won a game since Brian Kelly left. So there's that. And I don't need to say anything else. Moving on, I'll talk to you about Bama. Very close game, 120 degrees on the field for that game. And man, it's just a brutal, brutal game. And so it's week 3. My pick. All right, you guys are ready for this. I had my pick last week, and this really confirms it. So my pick on who is going to win it all. Are you ready? Drum roll, please. And I think, and I'm not trying to be a homer or anything else, but I think it's going to be Georgia again. I think they're going to be a repeat national champion. I think it's going to be against Alabama. It might be Ohio State, but I think it's going to be Alabama. And I think it's going to come down to the fourth quarter, and I think it's going to come down to a field goal. And I think that field goal is going to be by Georgia, and they're going to beat Alabama in the national championship. Going to be a rematch of last year, and Georgia's going to win it by 3. That's my guess. Georgia's defense is legit. I mean, they're just playing outstanding football. I have them coming up. I'm going to dive in a little bit more about the South Carolina game a little bit, but that's who my pick is. Let's see if I can make it 4 for 4. I picked the last 3. This is my 4th one picking it. I'm already locked it in for the future bets, and put some money down on it. That's who I picked for my national champion is Florida. I mean, not Florida. I'm looking at the first week. It's Georgia. All right. Moving into it because we're already 6 minutes into this, and I like to knock this out really quick. So Friday at 6:30, all my times are Central Time. Week 3, 2022, Florida State is -1.5. These are as of Monday when I locked in my bets, and they're already starting to change. So Florida State -1.5 at Louisville. This is a really interesting. You guys are already scratching your heads. You're like, no sevens. Did you hit your head, or is you sleep deprived? What's going on? If Florida State, and this is my thinking, if Florida State plays as well as they did against LSU, they should steamroll Louisville. And I know we've had some upsets, and this could be an upset, but I really do like Florida State -1.5 in this. I think that they're going to be either second or third in the ACC this year. And they might beat Miami. That's going to be the game that you're going to want to watch, is the Miami and Florida State game, because that's going to be the number 2. Number 1 in the ACC is definitely going to be Clemson. They have no offense, but they have a stellar defense, and that's what's going to carry them into the ACC championship, is their defense for Clemson. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to lock in Florida State -1.5. The total is 56.5. The money line is -140 for Florida State, +120 for Louisville. And let's go ahead and lock in Florida State -1.5. All right, real quick, I didn't give you my season total. So right now we're at 7 wins and 6 losses. Man, that 2019 season is looking like a field of dreams. Only 11 games lost that year. Pretty amazing stuff. All right, moving on. So we have UTSA at Texas, -13.5 for Texas. I talked to you about that Alabama-Texas game. The total is 61.5. Money lines +348, -499 for Texas. 7 p.m. kickoff Central Standard Time on Saturday. The rest of them are all on Saturday. Texas is going to play this game pissed off because they felt like they deserved to win that game, even on the backup quarterback. I thought that was a cheap shot, slamming, their first string quarterback down. I'm sorry I don't have the names for you. Too tired to remember. Marcus Freeman is, now my brain's kicking in for Notre Dame's head coach. But needless to say, Texas is going to play this game very pissed off. -13.5 is what I got as of Monday. And so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to lock in Texas. There's nothing to say. I think they're a legit squad. They're definitely going to win this game, hands down. Really like it. Look for a lot of fireworks, a lot of offensive fireworks in this game. And Texas defense, Steve Sarkisian is really doing a great job with that program. Really happy how Texas is doing. A little bit nervous when they come to the SEC and they start playing in the West, how they're going to play against my boys in LSU and Oklahoma. It's going to be a really interesting when all those forces combine in a few years down the road. So let's go ahead and lock in Texas, minus 13.5. All right, next game up is Georgia, minus 24 at South Carolina. Now, when I was doing my betting, this was in some apps, you can do a one-game multi-parlay in there. So, I mean, you guys can do that. You guys can take Georgia minus 24, because I definitely think they're going to beat the brakes off of South Carolina. So I really do like Georgia minus 24. And the total has moved up, and it's still moving up. When I was even writing this board, it moved up another point. The total is 49.5. The money line's minus 5,000. Some of them is minus 3,000 on Georgia, plus 1,500. Some of them are even plus 3,000 for South Carolina. It's an 11 a.m. kickoff, so right after college game day, you get this game. Really interested to see how this game's going to be. So if I was you guys, if you guys want to throw a little bit of extra money and you do have that one game parlay option, I would take Georgia minus 24, and I would take the over in this. So what No Sevens is going to do, my pick is I'm going to take the I'm going to take the over 49.5 points. South Carolina is probably going to score about 14 points in garbage time at the end of the fourth quarter. Georgia is going to go ahead and score about 45 points by themselves. So I definitely see an over for this. And like I said, I like Georgia minus 24, covering that minus 24. So I'm going to go ahead and take the over on this and go from there. All right, there's some game of the weeks that you guys can see below. I'm not going to bet on those, but I definitely want to highlight those for you guys, because those might be some really good games that you guys might want to check out later on in the afternoon and one at night. But first, let's cover our dark horse. Mississippi State's going into LSU. LSU is plus 2.5 points. Who would ever think this? Now, before Mike Leach came in, and this is a few years back, this is about 15 years ago, LSU used to just beat the brakes off of Mississippi State. And there was the longest time, I think LSU had the longest win record against them in the SEC than any other team. I think they beat them like 18 years in a row. It was something insane. It was just like the Auburn. You know, last year Auburn finally beat that streak, and it was, you know, Auburn hasn't beaten LSU in Death Valley in LSU's stadium since 1999. Well, Ed Orgeron completely screwed that up, along with many other things. But as I digress, we have Mississippi State's going into LSU. Brian Kelly is really turning this program around. They broke a record last weekend. They scored 37 points in the first quarter. I said that correctly. The first quarter, they scored 37 points. So this offense is humming. They're starting to click. They're starting to understand. The quarterback and everybody are starting to become on sync with their timing and everything else. Mississippi State's known as the air raid. Mike Leach, you know, he's known as the air raid, just like Steve Spurrier was the fun and gun. So the total is 53.5. This is also a one-game parlay that you can do with some of the sports betting apps. The money line's minus 135. LSU is plus 115. Some spots is plus 105, just depending on which one you look at. It's a 5 p.m. kickoff Central Time. I really like LSU being at home to win this game flat out outright. I'll take those 2.5 points too. That's who I really like. So I'm going to take LSU plus 2.5, and I'm going to throw in an extra one. I'm going to take the over on this at 53.5. I think there's going to be about 70 points scored in this game, maybe 60. I know LSU is probably going to at least score 30 or 40 points in this. And Mississippi State's going to at least score about 14 to 21 points. You know, LSU's defense is starting to gel. House, the defensive coordinator, Matt House, is, He's doing a great job gelling those linebackers. That's what he's known for. Really glad to have him as a defensive coordinator. And I just like this all over. So I'm taking LSU plus 2.5, and I'm going to take that over at 53.5. And like I said, some apps you can do a 1-game parlay with that too. So let's lock it in. All right, got a couple more things, and I'm going to let you guys go, and you guys are going to be dismissed. Money line parlay. So we're going to take Ohio State, Georgia, Clemson. You can add LSU if you want to, and we're going to take Florida. This is not going to pay anything, guys, but it's just something just to have a little fun. Do a multi-leg parlay. Throw $10 in there, and I think you're going to win $1. You know, like $11. You know, total. It's just a guaranteed win. You add LSU, you're going to win probably an extra $8. You know, so you might, instead of winning, if you do $10, you might win like $20, $18. Just something just to have a little fun if you want to do the money line parlay. I have my parlay point bet. I'm going to try that this week and see how I do. I'm going to reveal that in a second. But first, guys, I want to show you the games of the week that I think are going to be really interesting that you might want to write down to check out this week. BYU at Oregon. Oregon's minus 3.5. Kickoff is 2:30 p.m. Central Time. And BYU is a legitimate team. They played Baylor. You know, they hung in with them, and they stood toe-to-toe in the middle of that ring and duked it out, and at the very end won that game. A lot of questionable calling in that overtime. But anyway, I really like Baylor in this, and if I was a betting man, I would probably take BYU. Did I just say Baylor? I don't know what I'm saying anymore. I'm sorry, guys. I really like BYU in this game, and I would say BYU plus 3.5 if I had to go with this. But a really, really great time to watch this. I'm surprised it's not a pack after dark game. So it's a 2:30 kickoff. Penn State at Auburn. I was going to put this game in, but I decided to hold off because Auburn's not doing that well this year. Last year, Auburn took them down to the wire, and they had a whiteout over there. I mean, who's going to have, I mean, come on, guys, really, a whiteout? I mean, Auburn plays in the SEC. Auburn plays Alabama every year. You're going to tell me that that stadium with the whiteout is going to be louder than Alabama, or you know, they're not going to know how to handle that intensity? Please, go somewhere else. This is the SEC, man. They're used to playing at that kind of level last year. Anyway, so Penn State is at Auburn this year. I hope Auburn's crowd is even louder than what the whiteout was of last year. So, but I wish Auburn had that team of last year, because Auburn will win this hands down. But unfortunately, Auburn doesn't have that team. They're in a rebuild year. Penn State's minus 3.5. If I was a betting man, I would take Penn State minus 3. But I'm not betting on this game, but it's going to be really good. Watch it at 2:30. So grab 2 TVs, watch the BYU, watch the Penn State game, and go from there. Next up is Miami, Florida at Texas A&M. Mark Cristobal, the head coach for Miami, going into Texas A&M. Texas A&M has got something to prove, and they're going against a worthy opponent in Miami, Florida. If I was a betting man, I would take Texas A&M in this, because I know Appalachian State beat the brakes off of Texas A&M and just embarrassed them on every facet of football. And Texas A&M has got to right that ship. So if I was a betting man, I would take Texas A&M, because they're going to be playing pissed off the whole entire time playing that game. But don't discount Miami. Miami's going to keep this very close. And if they don't shore up some of those mistakes, Miami's going to expose them and really spank them, and it's going to look really bad. Another one that if you guys want to make another bet on is Notre Dame is heading off to play Cal. And I don't know about you, but I would take Cal. I think Cal's plus 10 in that game as of right now when I looked it up before I did this video. So that might be another one that you might want to look at as a pretty easy win, because Notre Dame's got more problems in the math book right now. All right, so I'm going to be right back. I'm going to do my parlay point bet and go from there. All righty, guys. Maybe it's late at night. Maybe I'm delirious, but this is what I'm going with. This is my pick. Florida State minus 1.5. Texas minus 13.5, and LSU plus 2.5. That's my 3-team parlay, who I think is going to win it out. And I'll know right off the bat on Friday if this parlay is going to do, you know, if it's worthwhile, because Florida State plays that Friday at 6:30. So, you know, I'll know right away if I'm in or if I'm not in, you know, to watch the rest of these. But, you know, Florida State's going to be really the only questionable. I think LSU and Texas are going to handle their business. And, guys, I appreciate it. Hopefully we finish out week 3. Next week I'm going to do week 4, but week 5 and week 6 I might not be able to do. It just all depends. I'm going to be away. I'm going to be out of town for 2 weeks. And I'll try to do them if I can on a remote location, but there's no guarantee, guys. But thank you for all the support. I wish you guys lots of luck with your picks. These are my predictions on who I think is going to win this week. Like I said, nothing's guaranteed, so don't you know, write me an email and say, no, Sevens, man, I bet all the things that you told me to and I lost all this money. These are my predictions. So make your predictions how you think. Hopefully I give you some insight, make you scratch your head, make you look at something a little bit different. But like I said all the time, thank you guys for all your support. And No Sevens is going to catch you on the flip side.